Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Conservative Corner. I'm Elliot Margolis. I'm here with my co-host, Gail Burke, and today we're going to talk about the Middle East. And there's so many misconceptions about what's going on in the Middle East and why it's going on in the Middle East that we wanted to clarify things. It's very concerning to me that a number of city councilors in Beverly don't seem to understand the history of what's going on in the Middle East. So I want to start with a little history, and I have to make it quick because Gail wants to be able to say something. So here we go. Back in 1947, when the beginnings of the United Nations, there was a two-state solution that was proposed for Israel and for Palestine. Israel accepted the two-state solution. The Palestinians did not. 5 times since then, there has been a two-state solution that Israel has accepted and the Palestinians have not. Now, keep in mind, right now they're talking about the fact that Israel is doing a genocide. Tell me something. From the river to the sea, what does that mean? And is that not genocide? And is that not the Palestinian motto? Gail?
Well, you know, as I look back on the history, I'm not as well versed in it as Elliot is, but I know that certain presidents have had have been in agreement with Israel, and I'm talking about the Republicans, because the Democrats seem to do whatever they can to either stop Israel or not do anything except very minimal things. What happens with a two-party state or a two-state solution? It means that the Palestinians will have their own state and the Israelis will have their state. How in heaven's name can Israel live beside a country that has vowed to obliterate them from the face of the earth? How can they ever live in peace?
And yet they say that Israel is trying to do the genocide.
But who is saying it? You know who's saying it's genocide? That information is coming from Hamas.
Right. And the thing is, what bothers me is that the Beverly City Council believes Hamas is right. Now, if Hamas is right, tell me, why is it okay for Hamas to send bombs into Israel and Hezbollah to send bombs into Israel and Iran to send bombs into Israel specifically targeting civilians when the Israelis specifically target military establishments in those areas? Now, one could argue, and some of the people do, that Israel is killing a number of civilians. Well, here's the thing. The Hamas and Hezbollah use civilians as human shields. Hamas and Hezbollah have headquarters under hospitals, under schools, for the specific purpose of having that kind of propaganda. But the reality is Hamas and Hezbollah are killing civilians.
Specifically.
Specifically civilians. And Israel is not. And that makes a big difference. Why do you believe Hezbollah? Why do you believe Hamas?
No idea. I mean, after October 7th, that horrendous massacre of Israeli people, taking of hostages, you would have thought that the entire world would be sympathetic with Israel. And they were for about 5 minutes. And then it was, well, even though this horrible thing happened, look what Israel has been doing to the Palestinians for years.
Okay, what
There's
has
no
Israel been
logic
doing
there.
to the Palestinians is the question.
Yeah.
And, you know, you hear the Palestinians say that Israel is an apartheid state. You hear the Democrats saying Israel is an apartheid state. Do you know what the word apartheid means? The word apartheid means separation, okay? That's the definition. Now, the Arabs, the Palestinians, they are in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. They own homes. They go to the schools in Israel. They can even be in the military if they want to be in the military.
And they can vote.
And they vote. How is that apartheid? And yet people are believing that. And it's like, I guess that there's one thing that the Palestinians are better at than the Israelis, and that's propaganda.
Yeah,
Because
that's for sure.
that's the only thing that they're good at.
Yeah.
And people buy it. But you know something else? You've heard the United States and other countries are giving humanitarian aid. Do you know that the humanitarian aid does not go to the people? Hamas gets it, and they sell it to the people. And then they use that money for, guess what? Buying weapons. Now, where do they buy the weapons from? They buy the weapons from Iran and other Arab countries. Now, where did they get the money? Obama and Biden have given Iran billions and billions of dollars in cash. Does that help the Iranian people? I don't think so. It goes to making weapons. So, arguably, the United States, under the Democrats, have financed the war in the Middle East.
And look what's happened. Now that we have a president who has common sense and is sympathetic to everything that Israel has been through, has become very, very smart in dealing with Iran, in dealing with all the countries in the Middle East. That's what the Abraham Accords were about, which he put forth in his first administration. And then when Biden took over, nothing happened. They were forgotten. And now it's time to bring them forward again to make sure that countries like Saudi Arabia will be more sympathetic. Because don't forget, Iran is the enemy of all those Middle Eastern countries because of the way they are, the Ayatollah. And it's insane what they have done to their own people. Remember a few years ago, the Iranian people tried to rise up against the Ayatollah. They didn't get anywhere because, first of all, they had no weapons. And, you know, they were watched by the military in Iran. So they really couldn't get very far. And this was during the Biden and during the Obama administration, I think was when it began. And he offered nothing to them. When Trump comes along and tries to do something, it's forgotten because he lost an election. Now he's back, and he knows he only has a short amount of time to really push forth with his agenda. And that's exactly what he's doing. And when he and the Israelis got together and did the bombing of Iran, it was perfection. Many military people have said the same thing. It was not aimed at killing people. It was aimed at getting rid of the nuclear threat that threatens the entire world. And they did it perfectly. It has been compared with Dwight Eisenhower on D-Day. It has been compared with Truman and the secrecy of it, and the fact that it was kept secret. When Truman got the atomic bomb and it was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because the Japanese would not give up, that ended the war. Just like D-Day was the beginning of the end of World War II. These operations take time. And of course, our media especially, all they do is condemn President Trump. If he didn't do it, they would have condemned him. Since he did do it, they find all kinds of reasons. Well, it wasn't really that big a deal. It didn't really knock out their nuclear facilities. Well, from experts, from what we know right now, and we're learning more every day, the nuclear facility was demolished for the most part. Yes, they could still come back again and try it again, but now that they know that they have a president in the United States with all of our military power, and he's not afraid to use it, that has made the entire world take a second look and say, well, you know, maybe we won't be so ready to condemn Israel or the United States. Maybe they mean what they say. Finally, we have a president that does.
Well, Trump is, without question, the best friend Israel's ever had. I shudder to think what this world would be like today if Kamala Harris was in charge. But, you know, you look at the Democratic Party, you look at the squad, anti-Semitic. But you know what bothers me more than the squad being anti-Semitic? It bothers me that people like Chuck Schumer, Nadler, Adam Schiff, and all these Democrats who are Jewish say nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, party is not as important as policy. Policy is the most important thing. And I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You know what I care about? I care about policy. And not every policy that the Republicans have is right. Not every policy that the Democrats have is wrong. But the quote-unquote, the definition of politics is the art of compromise. And those idiots in Washington don't understand what the word compromise is. You work together. And you've heard the expression, he says this, she says this, somewhere in the middle is the truth. Well, you gotta work together. If nobody's in favor of something, it's probably the right thing to do, because there's always going to be something you disagree with. But you've got to get policy. You can't have hate. That's what we have now. You know how many people won't even talk to somebody who's not their party? They defriend people on Facebook. There are families that are broken up because some are conservative and some are liberal. This country was founded on getting along and talking about things. Free speech means you can talk about something. And you know what? I like to listen to people who are liberal because I like to learn where they're coming from. I want to know how they feel about this or that. And every once in a while, I will admit, not very often, but they have a good point. We have to work together. Washington has to work together. Washington is broke. We don't understand how to work together.
Well, I think
that's a real problem.
The biggest problem I find when talking with liberals, there are liberals, there are progressives.
No, regressive.
But they call themselves progressive.
Yeah, and people buy it, but
And
they're
they
really
do.
regressive.
And what happens is, from many of the people that I speak with on a regular basis, because I live in an area where I'm surrounded by liberals, But many of the things that they talk about are not based on logic. It's based on how they feel. Well, you can feel many different things on many different subjects. But when you feel the hatred for a person and everything that person does, and I'm speaking about President Trump, all logic goes out the window. Because everything you talk about, whether it be the schools, whether it be Israel and Hamas and all of that, it's all based on what Donald Trump has done, or even worse, the speculation of what he might do. And I find this especially with some of the so-called intellectuals who believe that they can read minds and know exactly what Donald Trump is going to do. Well, in this whole episode of what he did with Iran proved without a doubt that you can't predict what he's going to do. And that's what makes it so great. Yes, he's very unpredictable, and it keeps people on their toes. They don't know what to expect next. And in his position right now, and the position that the world is in, that is a great thing to have, because these countries, particularly in the Middle East, who have the people that live in the Middle East, or in many other countries, have a very different mindset than Americans do. And that's to our benefit, to have a president that will be doing something over here, and in the meantime, it's distracting everybody. Meanwhile, over here, he's doing something else. And that's exactly what happened when he sent the planes in to bomb Iran.
Have you noticed a very large portion of countries that do not support Israel do support terrorists? Have you noticed that? Civilized people don't support terrorists. Civilized people support a government that is a democratically elected government.
Well, you know, what is so sad is this is what is being taught in the schools, so that younger people I don't think they have a clear understanding of what terrorism is. I mean, we look at these things that are happening in the colleges. You know, you have students beating up, screaming, particularly at the Jewish kids that are their classmates. Do they really know why? Is it just hatred for Jews? I don't get it.
I don't get the hatred for Jews, number one.
No.
Number two is what's interesting, if this was against blacks. Now, years ago, we did have a problem with racism. There's still a minor problem with racism, but the point being, you couldn't discriminate against blacks or Hispanics. Why can you discriminate against Jews? It doesn't make sense. And the University of Pennsylvania has found out that they screwed up royally, and it's costing them a lot of money.
That's right.
We need to learn how to judge people by who they are, not what they are. Whether you're male or
Not the color of
female,
their skin either.
you know, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Most people are good people, no matter what type of person you are. It's how you are as a person that we need to judge people, and not, you know, who you are. It just like with this idiot in New York City now, Mandami.
The communist, yes.
You know that he wants to tax white people more money than black people?
Well, you know, it's interesting because New York has been in a turmoil for a number of years, what with the former governor, Cuomo, who, by the way, was one of the few people that the Democrats picked to run against this Mondami. Could they have picked anyone worse? But they have been in a turmoil with COVID and all the rest of it. And now this fellow Mondami, who is a self-proclaimed communist.
And anti-Semite.
That's right, he is anti-Semite. And he wants the government to run grocery stores. I mean, this is right out of the Communist Manifesto. This is what they do. They want to control. And the people in New York, helped along by AOC, a member of the squad, I mean, it's just insane. The people in New York, many of whom have left, are just, I don't know what they're going to do. Can they find nobody else to run against this guy? Hopefully there will be a Republican, although in heavily Democratic New York, that doesn't seem like a likely prospect. But how can you nominate a communist to be your mayor? Look at what the mayor that they have now, who has turned the corner. He changed his mind and is now going more to the right, which, thank goodness. But still, the New York City and New York State, they're a mess.
So
They're a mess just like Massachusetts is.
Here's the problem now. The Democratic Party is racist. The Democratic Party is anti-Semitic. Where does this come from? But when you see all these attacks against Jews in colleges, I don't understand it. I mean, you don't have to know somebody to hate them. That doesn't make any sense. That's what's happening in the Middle East. Keep in mind, the Jewish people have had ties to the Middle East for well over 5,000 years. The Palestinians have had ties to the Middle East close to 100 years. That's it. So there is no history of the Palestinians. But here's another question for you. Why is it Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, they don't want to have anything to do with the Palestinians? They reject letting them into their country. Why is that? You've heard the expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Nobody wants the Palestinians. Look what Israel has done for the world. Look at what they have invented medically. Their medical inventions have been incredible. Look at how they took an arid land with no water and made it tremendous farmland. The Israelis are inventors. The Israelis are making the world a better place. In Yiddish or in Hebrew, it's called tikkun olam, making the world a better place. Israel has done that. You go to Israel, you go to Tel Aviv, you go to Jerusalem, you go to Haifa, you go to any of the cities, modern as any new city in this country. Go ahead to Bethlehem. That's under the Arab control. It's third world. With all the money that we have given the Arab countries, where's the progress? There's hunger, there's starvation, it's incredible the conditions those people live in. When I was in Israel a few years ago, actually it was about 10 years ago, I was talking to a number of Palestinians and other Arabs, and I said to them, why is it that you live in Israel when you hate the Jews? And every single one said the same thing. We don't hate the Jews, but the living conditions in Israel are so much better than the living conditions in the Arab countries, we don't want to go back there. We want to live in Israel. We want to live in peace. It's the politicians and it's the hate that make things bad in the Middle East.
Well, that's why I get very concerned about what these young people are learning in the colleges, because many of the college professors are very left-wing. And they, what they preach to their students is anti-Semitic in many cases. They never talk about the terrible things that the Palestinians are doing. And that they urge their students to demonstrate. But, well, in today's world, these demonstrations often turn violent. And the police have a hard time controlling them. But the colleges themselves turn a blind eye to students being beaten up, locked in libraries. They turn and they won't do anything about it. So when this President Trump said to them, you have to stop doing this, and if you don't stop, there are consequences. One of the consequences is you will no longer get federal money, which I think was a brilliant thing to say, because even an institution like Harvard, they have, I think it's a $60 billion endowment. Why do they need our money, taxpayer money, in the first place? But they don't want to lose any money. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know why the federal government gives places like Harvard, Yale,
Columbia.
Princeton money, our money, but they've got such endowments. They could actually take all the students that they want in the freshman class, not pay a dime and not hurt anything. They don't need the money. But when the government says, we'll pay for student loans, well, guess what? Colleges say, oh, what the heck, if the government's going to pay for it, we might as well increase the rates. We've got stupid people in government. I don't care what party. We got stupid people in government.
A lot of them.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they are poster men and women for term limits. You know?
Yeah, figure that one out.
But that's the way it is.
The Founding Fathers had it right. They knew what they were doing. They didn't always get along. There was a lot of back and forth over time before we even got the Declaration. And the Constitution was an even bigger battle. But they worked it out amongst them. And they were people from all different walks of life. And they handed us this wonderful document, which the left seems bent on trying to destroy it, change it, make it irrelevant. And we have to make sure that we keep on with it, and we protect our government, we protect our Constitution, and we protect our people. Thank you all for watching. I know we went on and on today, but that's okay. We had a lot to say, and we hope that you'll keep on watching because we intend to do many more shows just like this. And we welcome your input, and we welcome your viewership. So thank you very much for watching.